All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing? Did you guys practice the footprinting part that I showed you yesterday? All right, all right. So today our session is for scanning, right? So today we are going to see the different methods we can perform our scanning, right? Okay. So you guys know, right, what is the basic understanding of scanning and all, right? So we are going to get over it just a little bit more, right? So coming to scanning, this is the process of gathering additional information about the target, right? So after the phase of footprinting and information gathering, this is the phase where we validate our findings, right? So in the information gathering, we have we done subdomain enumeration and all that, right? So in this phase, we are going to see are those targets even alive or not, valid or not, is this IP address responding or not, those kind of things. Right. So this process might be complex and aggressive, right? Because we know that in-map scanning is a bit complex and a bit heavy kind of scanning, right? Okay, so in this first we are going to cover this network scanning with nmap, right? So what we actually do in this scanning, right? We do network, we identify the hosts, the services, the operating systems, right? We find out those kind of things that are present or running in the network, right, on which we will perform our scanning, right? So there are different kind of scanning types as well. So I mentioned this network scanning. There are others as well. For example, the first is port scanning, right? Then we have network scanning. Then we have vulnerability scanning, right? And more and more. So today we are going to see this port scanning. Okay, because looking into the realistic pen tester kind of side, the port scanning is one of the most relevant ones, right? So what we actually do in this port scanning, right? So what we do, discover live hosts, right? Then IP addresses and open ports, right? Now after we run this kind of scanning, we will find certain ports and IP addresses on which we can later on perform our exploitation, right? Other things we can find from this is OS and system architecture, right? This is another way. What else? Find the services running, okay, and applications and their versions, okay. Right. So this is the basic objective of our port scanning, right? Now we have to, before jumping into scanning, we have to understand about the TCP communications, right? So you guys know what is TCP? Let me know what is TCP. Do you guys have any understanding of what is TCP, how it operates, how is the communication established? Anyone in the chat section? Transmission control protocol, right? So can you tell me which layer protocol is this? Layer Which layer, guys? Yeah, three-way handshake. Yes. So layer 4 or transport layer, right? Okay. So now what happens is the way that TCP communicates is the three-way handshake, right? So we use different methods of this three-way handshake and TCP and all when we use that Nmap, right? So before getting into that, I would like to say that if you have seen the structure of TCP packet, right? So you have seen that there is a concept or the small bit of it that is TCP flags, right? So can anyone tell me what are the different TCP flags? What are the TCP flags, guys? In the TCP packet, SYN-ACK. Okay, this is the methods of that three-way handshake, right? So you have mentioned two kinds of TCP flags. There are four more. Do you guys know that? Okay. SYN, REST, acknowledgement, and urge. Two more, guys. Okay, so I will just write it for you. The first one is SYN, another one is ACK, another one is push for PSH, right? Then URG is for urgent. Then we have got this fin, that is finish, and RST is for reset, right? So these are the flags, and we will deal with all these kind of ways how we can scan through Nmap. Okay, now I hope you guys have some basic understanding of three-way handshake, but I will repeat that one more time for our beginners, right? So coming to the three-way handshake, let's suppose this is us, right? The let's suppose we are not an attacker for the time being. Okay, and this is our partner with whom we want to communicate. Okay, so when coming to three-way handshake, what happens is first is we will send the SYN packet, right, to our SYN, to the one we want to connect with, right? Now if that packet was received successfully and our partner wants to connect with us, then what will do, it will send us the second handshake, that is SYN-ACK, right? So SYN means synchronize and ACK means acknowledgement, right? So by SYN we mean that first I am sending a synchronized request to our partner, right? Now when that synchronization has happened, then our partner will send that, yes, I have acknowledged your packet or your request and I am sending the same synchronization packet as well, right? After that we are going to send our acknowledgement packet, right? So this is the basic understanding of three-way handshake, right? Now this is how a session is initiated, right? This is the initiation of the session, right? First we are sending the synchronization request, then they are sending their acknowledgement and their synchronization request, and when we send our acknowledgement request response, then the connection is established. Now the TCP connection is established. Now one more thing we have to understand, that is how the sessions are terminated. Okay, now this is us, right? And this is our partner, right? Now what will we do when our connection is complete and the amount of data or the intended data that we want to send to that person is being sent completely and everything has been completed properly? Now what will happen, now we have to terminate the session as well, right? So for that, first of all we were sending data to our partner, right? So we have to do is first we have to send this fin packet, fin, and notify the receiver that I am done with transferring my data. Now we can initiate towards termination of this process, right? Now what will happen, our partner and the receiver will receive this fin packet, and what it will do, it will send its acknowledgement, right, that I acknowledge that the process has been completed properly, and now we can proceed towards this finishing, right? And then we have to submit our or send our ACK acknowledgement, right? So this was the termination process, right? So the initiation was synac and ac, and the termination is finac and ac. Okay, clear that, guys? Now there is the most famous tool that we have heard a lot about. Okay, that is our nmap, right? So before jumping into nmap, there are certain techniques we can do. Host discovery, right? Host discovery is one of the process we can find what are the hosts that are connected to our network, right? So host discovery, okay. So you guys can tell me any ways you know what are the different methods we can perform this host discovery in the chat section, guys. Okay, so we will see the technique. The first one is yeah, scanning, not using nessus. Okay, so the first one is ARP ping scan. Okay, then there is UDP ping scan, right? Then there is ICMP ping scan, right? Then there is TCP ping scan. Okay, then IP protocol scan, right? Now if I go to discuss about every single one of them, then our time won't be enough. Okay, so this is kind of an homework for you guys. You just go there and research about these, like, and try to get more information how these work. Okay, now we will start with our live host discovery with nmap. Okay, and we will see what are the different methods. So for this I am using the metasploitable 2 machine. Okay, this will be our victim machine, and if you want to like perform host discovery, then you can run multiple operating systems as well. Okay, so we all know the credentials are msf admin, right? And now we will just do if config. So here is our IP address, right? 192.168.1.30. So this is our target IP. Now what we will do nmap minus sp, right? Then 192.168.1.0 to 255, right? And we will start. Yeah, you can do net discover also. Okay. Now let's see what results we are getting from this, and simultaneously we will start another scan. Right, so what this is, minus sp is the ICMP ping scan, right? So these are the ones that responded to our ping scan. Okay, so before getting into that, we should have some basic like nmap minus h. Okay, now we are going to see the different kind of flags, right? So when we used this minus sp, you can see the sp, where is it? Then we will just so this does not resemble the pattern. Okay, no issues. So let's go to the main page only then. And now let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, it seems like it's not here. All right, no issues. So what we are doing over here, that if you see, we can use different kind of methods with this S flag, right? So minus S, here you will see minus S, capital S, this is for SYN scan, right? Minus T is for connect or the full TCP scan, that is used with minus S, capital T. Then A is with acknowledgement, W is with window, and M is for MIMON scan. So here only we did this minus S and P, that is for ping scan. Okay, P represents the ping scan of ICMP. Okay, now what we will do in map minus SS minus P0, and we will provide our range. Okay. Okay. So here you will see, so D0 TCP closed unknown. Okay, so the ports and the states are closed. Now before you can understand the output of the nmap result, you have to know about the status, right? So there are three status: open, closed, and filtered, right? So by the name of it only you can understand what is the purpose, right? Open means the port is open, closed means the port is not working or responding, and the filtered means a firewall is preventing your packet, right? Now we are going to see the all port scan of all the IP addresses in the range, right? So when you are doing for all ports, remember the fact that this will take a lot of time. Okay. So let's, if you do 0265535 and you provide minus P0 and 192.168.1.02255, then you will see, oh, okay, sorry, I did a mistake. Map, remove this. And what this will do, it will go to individual IP address and it will check for all these 65536 ports, right? And it will bring out the result as if some of them are open. Right now, what we are doing here, if you see, if we are giving this minus S and capital S or uppercase S, right? This uppercase S means SYN scan, right? So in this case, we are not completing our TCP three-way handshake. Okay, this is the half scan. Okay, and we will see more about that a little bit later. Okay, now let's do another scan. Nmap minus S minus P 80, 443, right? Then the range, right? So this is one of the, these two are one of the most famous ports, right? And common, HTTP and HTTPS, right? So this will like bring out the result for these two ports only, right? So if you see, this one will take a little bit longer compared to this, like this has completed only 55% and this has completed 96%. Okay. Yeah, there are two more status as well, closed filter and open filtered as well. Okay. Okay, so if you come over here and see the results, whatever the list of IP addresses those were active in this range, they have given port 80 open and 443 closed. So for this particular machine, the states are filtered, so the firewall is active. Okay, so here also you can see, let's clear this out. Now coming to the ICMP scanning, that is we did also nmap minus SN. For example, let's do facebook.com. Okay, one IP address scanned in 0.33 seconds. So you will see host is up. This minus SN, this ICMP ping scan is how fast. You can see it took only 0.33 seconds. So we can do this with our range also, right? And this won't take much time, I guess. See, so how fast it was. This kind of scan is even faster than your net discover scan, right? So if you see the machines or the IP addresses, those were responded in such a short period of time, 4 seconds only. Okay. So this is the benefit of doing ICMP scanning or the host discovery with Nmap. Okay. Now what we will do, identifying default open ports, right? Now by default is we will use options like Nmap -p 1265535. Okay. Now I am showing this for the purpose of your understanding, but you can specify your ports. Okay, whatever the ones you think is necessary, you can do that. -a -v. Okay, and let's do this on our metasploitable machine. 30, right? Okay, let's see. So I guess you understand this -t and -a and -v. If you don't, I will explain it. Okay, let's just wait for this scan to complete. Oh, this will take too much. Okay, so man nmap. Okay, now if you go to see like more details about this -a and -t4. So can you guys tell me what is the significance of -t and -a? T is the timer, right? So if you come over here, you can see set timing template. Now the higher is faster, right? So we know the timing is from like 1 to 5. Okay, 1 to 5, or is it from 0? It's 0 to 5. Okay, now what this means is the higher is faster and the lower is slower, right? Now what might happen from this, you should understand, when you are like I did in that one -t4. Now this is pretty fast, right? 3 or 2.5 or 3 is the mediocre, and 4 and 5 is pretty fast. Now what will happen when you do this, the pressure that it will apply on your target will be huge, right? This will take a lot of resources, and when you are doing a fast scan and you have specified another flag, that is this -a, let's see what this -a shows, then we will understand it clearly. Okay, so if you see over here, -a is enables OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. Okay, so what are the things it is covering? That OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. Okay, so if we just see a bit more of it, -o, right, -sv, right, then there is script and trace route. Okay, so all of this scanning, right, with a speed of this much. So you can imagine what kind of pressure this will apply on our target machine, right? So whenever you are scanning, always be careful with your timing and this aggressive mode. Okay, guys, you have to like keep in mind that we cannot disrupt the services of our client or our target. Okay, because we are working in legal, right? So if we cause any trouble for them or any kind of denial of service on their client side, then we have to face the legal issues. Okay, so here this is the like breakdown of this -a. So whenever we use this -a, all of these factors are covered by itself only, right? So after coming to this, like this is the IP address of the metasploitable 2 machine, right? So it is showing FTP anonymous login allowed. Okay, now we will like get into a bit more specific scanning for that. Okay, this was a generic kind of scan. Now what will happen, like you guys might have known that Nmap is a, like this requires the root permission, right? But there is one scan that you can perform without root permission, that is st -v 192.1.30. Okay, so this one you can run without your root permission. But if you do something like nmap minus T4 minus A minus V, and that. Okay, this one is also doing okay, no issues. So what you will see, minus T minus ST. So can anyone tell me what does this represent? This T, this is for TCP, right? So this was a TCP scan for this IP address, and it seems like the scan was very fast. Okay, usually when you are doing the TCP full scan, right, the three-way handshake process takes a little bit of time. So you can see here there are these ports that are open. So what happens is, in certain cases this might show some false positive also. Okay, you have to keep that in mind as well. And this brought us the services as well. Great. Okay, now coming to the like this ST scan. If you go to man and map, there are certain disadvantages of this type of scan. Okay, you can see here minus ST is this connect. Okay, now this connect scan is not as effective as the SYN scan, as it does not send raw packets. Okay, this TCP SYN scan is still better, okay, compared to this minus ST scan. Okay, this is the connect. Every connect request creates a log entry in the machine that leads to detection. Okay, you have to keep this in mind when you are sending this connection request, okay, to your target machine. Then this will be reported or logged in the logs of the system, right? And in ultimately this might cause you getting detected by the scanner or the administrator, right? Now coming to the SYN half open scan. Okay, that we did with minus S. No, sorry, that half scan was SYN map minus T4 minus A and minus V. This is the half scan only. Okay, a SYN scan, also known as stealth scan, involves an incomplete TCP three-way handshake. Incomplete. Okay, in this scan, the host sends a SYN packet to the target and waits for the response. If the target sends a SYN ACK acknowledgement, it means there is an open port, right? It will not send the acknowledgement in return, right? So first, this type of scan, or the SYN scan, that is also called half open scan, right? So in this one, this does not complete the three-way handshake, right? So what it does is, first it will send the SYN packet, right, and wait for the SYN ACK, but won't send the ACK in return. Now what this might cause, like when we are sending this SYN packet and we have already received this SYN ACK, then this should mean that our target or our approach towards whom we are approaching, that has sent us this acknowledgement and synchronous. So like common sense, we don't need to wait for, like we don't necessarily need to send this ACK in return, right? Because what we needed to do, we have already achieved that from this SYN ACK request from the target, right? So this is also called this half open scan, because the entire TCP connection is not complete or established, because we are not sending the ACK in return, right? So if you don't send that ACK in return, the TCP connection initiation will not be complete. Okay, that's the reason it is called half open scan, or also this is called stealth scan. This should be like one of the, like this should be the best way of scanning your targets. Okay, now coming to the illegal flags. Okay, there are illegal flags. If you just go and let's search for fin, urge, push, and those kind of thing. Where are they? First discovery. Okay. All right. So I will just explain you about it. So there are certain kind of illegal scan flags. Okay, that is URG, fin, and PUSH or PSH. Right. Now what happens in this, you can either use one of them or use a combination of them. But the problem is this works on OSs that are RFC 793 compliant. Okay. And these are practically the older versions of operating systems, right? So if you just go to, you just copy this and search in your Google. Let's see. You will see it is bringing out our port scanning techniques only. See, these are the scan. So minus SF, minus SN, and minus SX. This X is for Xmas scan, N for null scan, and F for fin scan. Okay. Now, if you try to understand this minus SF, you should like, when we have seen the termination process, you have seen that we are initiating our connection with the fin flag, right? So with this, we tell our target that we are finished transferring our data. But if you think like we already don't have a connection established, we don't have a connection, and over that you are sending a finish request, this should like be more confusing for the receiver, right? Now in the modern operating system, these don't work. You won't be able to get any result from this. But if you use on these RFC 793 compliant machines operating system, this might work. So let's try it with our metasploitable as well. Minus SF and provide the IP address. This should give, because this is an intentionally vulnerable machine. But if you use this on Windows 10 or Windows 7, that won't work. Okay, this is giving the same result. If you do nmap minus SN, capital N, okay, this will also give the same result. And if you use this minus X, this will also give the same result. Okay, because this metasploitable machine is our intentionally vulnerable machine, right? So if when you are scanning and if you see any of this, like any of these three scans is working properly, then that machine would be probably vulnerable. Okay, now we are going to see a little bit more advanced way of scanning, that is hack flag probe scan. Okay, is a mouthful, but with this kind of scanning, a penetration tester sends a TCP probe packet with the ACK flag set to a remote device and then analyzes the header information, right? So for the header information, there is the TTL and window field. Okay, these are present in the info header, right? Now, after you receive, when you are doing this, let me just write it for you again. Sends TCP probe packet with ACK flag set to a remote device, right? Then after that, this will be present in the response. That TCK probe packets, try to understand what I'm saying here, sends TCP probe packets, probing with ACK flag set to a remote device, which is not us, not the local device, a remote device. And in the response, they analyze through the header information that contains this TTL, time to live, and the window field. Okay. Now the hack flag probe scanning exploits the vulnerabilities within the BSD derived TCP IP stack. Okay, so this one is also limited to BSD derived TCP IP stack. Okay, those operating systems or device that follow this kind of stack, just copy it out and search in your Google. What does this mean? Okay. So here you will see the different like authors, those who have explained this, you can go through that. Okay, now there are two kinds of method that I mentioned here, the TTL and the window field. Okay, now one thing you have to remember, you will always like examine or analyze the response, right? Whatever response you are getting from the target, right? So the for first one, TTL based ACK flag probe scanning. Okay, now what happens in this is that you can perform a scan with this command only, minus nmap minus sa minus p0 dot 30. Okay, in this case this will work only because the metasploitable is vulnerable machine, we know that. Let's clear this out, paste this, let's see. Okay, so this scan will complete in this case, right? And if you try to see one IP address, one host hub scanned in 0.24 seconds, right? So can anyone tell me what is the TTL of a packet, which is default value of TTL? Can anyone tell me, like how many seconds of a packet? Tell me guys in the chat section. The default value of this is 64 seconds. Okay, now whatever is happening, like whatever response we are getting, okay, if that response is lesser than this 64, then we have to understand that the particular port we are searching for is open. Now we specified this port 0, right? Now let's type a random port. Okay, and let's do 4444 and let's see. Okay, so this one is showing this one open also. Let's bit more random. 5528. See, this is what happens when you are targeting a vulnerable machine. But if you do this on a regular like Windows machine or a Linux machine, modern machines, then you will see this time, this TTL. First of all, this scan will not complete at all, right? Then the next output that you will get is like the scan host not responding. Okay, now this is a vulnerable machine. You can see this is unfiltered and unknown. Okay, so this is the proof that this is a vulnerable machine. But when you are looking towards a modern and sophisticated machine, no, then you have to look out that the TTL that you are getting, that if it is less than 64, then the port is open. Okay, clear that much guys? Now coming to the next one, the window based ACK flag probe scanning. In this one, what you do, the window size, right? So the window size is usually 0 bytes. Okay, in normal scanning, it's 0 bytes. Now, whatever it is other than 0, that should be open. Okay, on some systems, the window value of RST packet for closed ports is always 0, right? So whenever the port is closed, it will give you 0, but any other value that is other than 0 or like in the 256 or 512 or 1024, those kind of number, they represent the open ports. Okay, clear guys? Is this clear? These two are pretty like advanced type of scans. Okay, understanding these two is very important. Okay, now coming to the next one is the advantages and disadvantage of this. Okay, now the advantage is this type of scans can evade the IDS. Okay, evade IDS in most cases, right? And there is a disadvantage, that is the scan is slow and can exploit only older operating systems which are based on this BSD derived TCP IP stack only. Okay, so scan is slow and can only exploit older systems based on this, right? Clear guys? Let me know in the chat section. If you have not understood this, I will explain this again. Is this part clear? Okay, I guess repeat once, please. Okay, I will repeat. So if you see, there is a specific kind of scan, okay, that's called ACK flag probe scanning, right? ACK is acknowledgement. So what happens in this is the target, or sorry, the sender or our attacker, that is us, attacker sends TCP probe packets with this acknowledgement flag set to a remote device. Okay, now we have to like analyze the response of the victim and see based on these two fields, TTL and window field. Okay, if you come and check out over here, you will see this does not mention the window size, I guess, right? This does not mention, but this will show you the time it has scanned. Okay, so we all know this TTL means time to live, right? Time to live is the time the packet will be alive for or valid for. Okay, if this passes 64 seconds, then the packet will be invalid, and your victim or whoever you are sending that packet to will reject that packet, and the TCP connection will have to start from the very beginning. Okay, now here we need to see that if we are performing this type of scan, no, this minus a SA, this is this ACK probe scan. Okay, now this our target machine is metasploitable 2, and this is intentionally vulnerable. Whatever you do, you will get your desired output only. Okay, so it's not visible for this kind of machines, but if you are looking towards any modern devices, then you have to see if the TTL is like the time or the response took any less than 64, then you have to understand the port you specified with this flag is open, or else if it is 64, then you have to understand that the port is closed, right? And another method, so in certain cases, if the TTL for every single response is 64, or every single one of them shows 0 or 64, okay, in that case you can use this window based ACK flag probe scanning. Okay, this one also has the same command only. So the difference between these two you will understand in the response, the TTL and the size of the window. Okay, so I mentioned usually the size of the window that is returned in the response of the modern devices is 0, but in certain cases, if you see 512 or 256, in those kind of things, you have to understand that port might be open. Okay, right? Clear? So this type of scan, you can understand the result from the output, comparing between the TTL and window. Okay, now if I provided this 0 only, port 0, if you provide a range of ports, or if you scan for top 1000 ports, then you will be able to like understand the difference through the TTL or the size of the window, right? Now coming to the disadvantage and advantage of this is it evades IDS in most cases, intrusion detection system, right? Because this is already like TCP probe packets is really small and kind of stealthy also. Okay, so chances are this will like evade your IDS, intrusion detection system. But the disadvantages are this is very slow and can only work in older systems based on BSD derived TCP IP stack. So I would suggest you guys go and search for what is this BSD derived TCP IP stack machines or operating systems. Okay, it will be clearer to you. Now coming to the, like I have mentioned that only. Okay, now we will perform the UDP scan. Okay, now for the time being, our target is this metasploitable only, no? So whatever we are searching, we will get our desired output. So in that case, the syntax looks something like this. V. Okay, so this is the UDP scan. Now there is a difference between UDP and TCP scan. Definitely it has to be different kind of protocol that I will explain. Just a second, let's wait for the response. So you can see increasing send delay for this from 0 to 50 due to max successful tries, no increase to 4, right? So what's happening in this? Initiating UDP scan and this, scanning this top 1000 ports. Okay, so let's understand what's happening. Okay, now in this one, UDP port scanning uses the UDP protocol as suggested by the name, and it can be a bit more difficult to use than the TCP scanning because you won't be able to determine whether the host is live, dead, or filtered? Okay, can you see here any kind of response mentioning live, dead, or alive, or filtered? No, right? So this understanding the response of this UDP scan is a bit difficult. Okay, let's let this complete and you will see. So this is more difficult compared to TCP scan because you cannot determine that the host is either alive, dead, or filtered. Okay, alive, dead means open and closed. Okay, so if you take a look into this, you will see there is no such thing as open, closed, or any kind of those things, right? So understanding this is a bit difficult. Now you guys tell me only, no? So from this part of the output, can you understand what is happening? No, right? So that's the issue in this. Now, if you send a UDP packet to a port without an application bound to it, then the IP stack will return an ICMP port as an unreachable packet, right? The closed ports return an ICMP error, while the ports that didn't answer are either open or filtered, right? So the ways of understanding this is if the port is closed, then it will give you an ICMP error, right? But if the port is while the port that didn't answer, that will be either open or filtered. So it is testing for the top 1000 ports, right? So we have to consider whichever ones are showing error, those are closed, and which ones are not responding, showing any error or any mention in the response, those are might be open or filtered. Okay. So then there is another technique that is called fragmentation. Okay, one of the best ways. Okay, fragmentation. So by the word also you can understand fragmentation is fragmenting your packet, TCP packet, into multiple parts. Okay, and keeping every part of the TCP header into those packets so that the target system in which the monitoring system might be open or active, that does not become able to monitor or detect you. Okay, so this I mean is split the TCP header into parts and parts across all the fragments. Okay, right? So what will happen? The TCP header is not completely present in one fragment. There are multiple fragments. Those fragments are collectively going towards the target, right? So what is happening here? So this is the what is wrong, man? So this is the TCP packet and there is a TCP header, right? So now what we are doing, we are dividing this packet into multiple fragments. Okay, multiple fragments. Okay, now what will happen? This TCP header that is present, we are not sending it in one packet. We are dividing it in every single one of those packets, right? Or every single one of those fragments, and resulting what will happen? One fragment will go one at a time, right? So the first fragment went, and the system that might have an IDS or IPS or any kind of monitoring system active will not be able to get what is the objective of this TCP packet or this the objective of this packet itself or the fragment, right? So it will be confused, and when all these packet receive or reach to the target, then they will